Hello there lovely fellow crafters, it's Terry from Veegstez Creates. Thank you for stopping by today. So today I have for you a tutorial showing you how to make this super cute, bright, springtime shaker card. Excellent for those that are new to making shaker cards, or people that want to know how to build a background scene to use in a shaker card or not. And I am using the Stamp and Die of the Month kit from Not Too Shabby Shop, and this is called Grow Happy Thoughts. Each month there is a Stamp and Die of the Month kit along with other kits, and this month I have the Stamp and Die of the Month kit and I'll be making 2 videos, so this is the first of 2. This always launches on the 7th, and along with a video tutorial you get to participate in a giveaway and YouTube hop. So there'll be more about that and how to enter as we progress through the video. So let's dive in, shall we? So you might not be able to see the blooms too well, so I'll explain what it is that I've done. So these stamps are so pretty and they're very dainty, and if you look at the acetate, I find that's a really useful thing to do because it gives you an idea of what the stamp's going to actually look like once it's stamped. So I wanted to use this image all along the bottom of the card and then have butterflies flying around. But if you look at the acetate, if I had stamped that in black ink, the centres of the blooms would be black, as would the stems. So what I decided to do was to stamp the image in a very pale sort of ivory yellow colour. French macaroon, it's a Nouveau hybrid ink pad, which means you can use it with watercolours or alcohol markers and obviously pencil crayons, and then you can see much more clearly with the butterflies. So again, if you look at the acetate, if I had stamped them in black, then there wouldn't actually be much area to colour. And because that's what I'm wanting to do with this card, because I want it to be a bright, colourful card, add the shaker elements and obviously turn it into the shaker card that you've just seen. So that's one way of getting around it. If you're using small detailed images and you want to colour them, but if using black would make it not really viable for you to colour them, then stamp them in a pale coloured ink. So I want the flower centres to be a yellowy colour, so this is going to work perfectly. And then I want my butterflies to be aqua, turquoise, purple, which all will work really well with a very pale blue, which, just in case you're interested, is Blue Mineral by the same company. These types of images are also perfect for, because they're so dainty and patterned, really, they'll be wonderful for heat embossing, for doing a heat embossing technique and either embossing in gold or white or something onto a dark coloured cardstock. These images would be perfect for also stamping in clear ink and clear powder on white cardstock and then ink blending over, or stamping in clear ink and white embossing powder and ink blending over. So there's such a wide variety of uses for this stamp set, but this is a very useful technique for when you're wanting to colour very dainty images. And I just did a very simple bit of masking. So I stamped this image right onto the edge of my 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch panel. So that's like there. And then I made a mask very simple, and then just did some very simple fussy cutting around it. So just around this bit here, then place that there, and then stamped over again, which is why there's so much ink here and why it looks blotchy there, because I've sort of gone over it twice. But that's fine, it will fade, and plus the fact I'm wanting to colour the stems in green anyway. So hopefully that's given you some tips. I'm going to go away and do the colouring off camera, and then I'll come back and we will assemble the shaker card. Okay, so I've coloured up my little scene. I used alcohol markers and also some coloured pencils. I find coloured pencils are really handy for getting into small places and adding extra interest and detail, especially to small elements like butterflies and small blooms. Cut out a number of frames using a frame that I've got, which has got like a nice scalloped border. I also went into my Elephant Love paper pad, and originally I was going to use this die cut for the top, but then I changed my mind and went for this one because I think that looks perfect. So I'll need to sandwich a piece of acetate between that and another one, and then I have 3, 4 more that I can add on top, and then that will leave a nice well then to add the sequins. If I need any more of a well, then I'll add a bit of skinny foam tape, or I'll cut a few extra of these. So I've pulled out a cloud stencil to just add a little bit of interest to the background. So I'm going to add some clouds, but I'm not going to do them in blue, I'm going to do them in pink. And that's just because I just fancy doing them in pink, to be honest. I think it'll look really cute. So I've chosen a really pale ink. It's Rose Quartz by Altenew. Just been going through my stash searching for a really pale ink. So this isn't to give really defined clouds or anything like that. It's just to add a little bit of interest and just break up the white background. So as you can see, I haven't masked off the butterflies, so I'm just going to be careful when I'm going around the butterflies. So you can see it's just giving a little bit of difference. I also find that if I want to soften the edges of a stenciled line or cloud, just going over it again with you know, not adding more ink to the brush, just using the little bit that's left on the brush. See, it's looking really soft and delicate, using a very pale colour, and also going back over those lines makes it very, very soft. So I'm literally just using what's left on the brush now, just to take away the starkness of the white. Okay, so that is what the panel looks like now. I'm now just going to add a little bit of pale green, not using a stencil, just a little bit of pale green along the bottom here to remedy the stark contrast of the stems against the white. So I've picked out Mint Julep, which I think is a Hero Arts. But I managed to get down quite low with the pink of the sky, so there should be no areas of stark, harsh whiteness showing. I'm happy with that. So now, while that's drying, which won't take very long because it's a dye-based ink, I'm going to briefly demonstrate how to assemble the front of a shaker element for those of you who haven't made one before. And just to say also, for those of you who haven't made a shaker before, you can either put foam tape behind the border in order to build up the walls within which your sequins will float around, and if you choose to do that, then a good tip is to there'll be stickiness on the inside of the foam tape, so it's a good idea to run your anti-static powder bag or tool around the inside and then just wipe it away with a microfiber cloth to stop the sequins sticking from to the side. And another tip for doing shaker cards is just to prevent, because sometimes for some reason the shaker elements end up settling to the bottom a lot, so what I like to do is stick a few sequins or confetti just dotted around the actual scene, around the top and the middle, to ensure that sequins can be seen at all times. So for this we're going to need our tweezers and some either liquid adhesive on its own or some red liner tape. I'm just going to go for the liquid adhesive. So I trimmed my acetate panel down a little bit so that it would fit nicely within the frame. It doesn't go all the way to the edges, it doesn't need to. So just making sure that we've got the right side facing it out, and then I'm going to use my fine tipped glue bottle to add some adhesive around. Now this is a nice strong adhesive, so I don't need to worry about the acetate coming undone. So try and add a decent amount of glue, but not so much that it's going to squeeze out into the edges and get onto the acetate, otherwise you'll have to pick it off because you'll be able to see it. So it's best to try and position it correctly the first time. There we go. So you can see the glue spreading a bit, but fingers crossed, if we just sort of press it away from the centre, then it won't go into the window. Yep, I think I've successfully managed to not get any glue on the inside of the acetate, so round of applause to me. Next I'm going to apply glue to this panel. So obviously these are exactly the same size, therefore we know that we need to line them up perfectly. And obviously, as we just saw, because this will be gluing onto acetate, it will want to squeeze a little bit, so don't be too heavy-handed with the glue. So it's important to use a glue that you trust, that you know is really strong, without having to use lots and lots of it. So this time, if we line up the end, or line up a corner you can get that straight, then you know that the rest of it is going to be even. So there we go. So that is what it's going to look like on top of the scene, but we need to add the frames on next. So I'm going to do that off camera and then be back in a moment to add the shaker elements and finish off the card. Okay, so I have layered up all of my frame die cuts, and that's probably about 5mm thick. I added, I think it was 4 plain ones and then obviously the 2 patterned ones, but I just wanted it to be a bit thicker, so I've just gone ahead and added 2 more, and it really is nice and sturdy. And then I've given the inside a wipe with a microfiber cloth. I've got an A6 note card, and this frame is sized perfectly to fit on an A6 card, leaving a nice border, which is really nice. So I know that I don't want to glue any sequins like too close to the edge, and for the sequins I went through my stash and I basically went through and picked out colours that would match nicely. So now my sequins have adhered, we're going to test again. I always recommend check, check, then check again. So I'll put this to the point where I think it needs to be, have a look, and then we can see that there are sequins all over the place, which is just what we want. So now, ooh. Oh no, bear with me a second. Oh dearie diddles. Real life crafting now, guys. Okay, so we'll pretend that never happened, and then we will start adding the shaker bits in. Also, another benefit of having these sequins on here is that some of the sequins from here might get trapped underneath them, so it just allows more of the shaker elements to be seen. Oh, look at that! Doesn't that look great? So they move around freely, which is what we want. And then even if they all fall to the bottom, we've still got lots around here. And as I said, they stick to the ones that are stuck in place. Excellent. Fabulous. And then for the sentiment, there's several in the stamp set, but I've chosen thanks because I think that this is a perfect thank you card with the florals and the butterflies. So I'm just going to put it just below that butterfly there. I'll try and not move that around. So I'll try and not move that around because it needs to adhere to the acetate. So I'm going to just pop something on top of it to keep it in place. I'm just going to pop a paper pad on top of it. And here we go, lovely crafters, the completed card. You just can't beat the sound of a shaker, can you? I absolutely love it. So just leaving that paper pad on top of the sentiment for 5 or 10 minutes has worked perfectly. Mission complete. So now you are to hop along to the next hop participant and work your way through the other videos, and then complete your entry into the giveaway by using the Rafflecopter. If I am your last participant in the giveaway and hop, then head to the Rafflecopter in my description box and complete that. And obviously one of the conditions of entry into the giveaway is to leave a comment and like the video. I really like chatting with people in the comments on my channel. It's a very sort of friendly, relaxed place. I would just encourage you to leave me any comments or questions that you like. If you have any queries or anything wasn't explained enough for you, then just ask me the question. I always respond to my questions and comments. So that's all from me today. So I will be doing another video with the Grow Happy Thoughts Stamp and Die of the Month set soon, so look out for that. If you hit the subscribe bell on my channel and also head over to the Not Too Shabby channel, there is so much inspiration over there for you. And if you particularly like my work, then feel free to have a look around my channel, and I'd love it if you would subscribe and join my little crafty family and community. So that's all from me today, and I'll see you soon with some more crafty goodness. Bye for now.